What's up, Cowboys Nation? We all know that this team is always striving to improve, and after a disappointing 2024 season, it's time to focus on fixing the issues that held us back. The Cowboys are heading into a crucial offseason, and they can't afford to make the same mistakes again. They need to find the right head coach, land some key free agents, and nail the draft to build a team that can finally break the NFC Championship drought. If you love the Cowboys and want to stay updated on all the latest news, make sure to hit that like button and subscribe to the channel. Your support helps a lot. Now, let's get into the 3 key positions the Cowboys must prioritize this offseason if they want to be serious playoff contenders. CeeDee Lamb has been phenomenal, but let's be real. He needs help. Brandin Cooks and Kevontae Turpin are set to hit free agency, and behind them, the depth isn't promising. Jalen Tolbert, Jalen Brooks, and Jonathan Mingo should not be relied upon as primary options. The Cowboys need a dynamic receiver who can run a complete route tree and take some pressure off Lamb. If defenses can double-team Lamb without consequences, the offense will struggle again. Luckily, there are solid options in free agency and the draft. The Cowboys could target a veteran WR like Calvin Ridley or Tyler Boyd, or they could use their first or second-round pick on a young, explosive playmaker. Cowboys fans have been calling for a true game-changer at running back, and Ashton Jeanty is a name that keeps popping up in draft conversations. Whether or not the Cowboys land Jeanty, they must address the running back position this offseason. Tony Pollard's future is uncertain, and Rico Dowdle is a free agent. Dallas should re-sign Dowdle on a team-friendly deal while still drafting a young, explosive back to create a strong 1-2 punch. The Cowboys' offense is at its best when they have a balanced attack, and in 2024, the lack of a consistent ground game was a major issue. If Dallas doesn't want to spend a high draft pick on a RB, they could target a veteran free agent like Josh Jacobs or Saquon Barkley, if the price is right. Cowboys Nation, this one isn't flashy, but it's the most important need on defense. For years, the Cowboys have struggled against the run, and it cost them dearly in 2024. Dallas must prioritize defensive tackle in free agency and the draft. The Cowboys invested a first-round pick in Mozzie Smith last year, but they can't rely on him to be the entire solution. If he develops, great, but in the meantime, they need to add an impact player alongside Osa Odigizwa. There are strong options in free agency, like Christian Wilkins or D.J. Reader, and Dallas should strongly consider drafting a top DT early. If they don't fix the interior defense, the same problems will continue in 2025. Most of the focus this offseason has been on the coaching search, but we can't forget about one of the biggest free agency decisions, Zack Martin. Martin signed a 2-year, $36.85 million deal with the Cowboys, but his second year was voided, making him a free agent. The veteran guard won't get that kind of money again, but he will still command a solid contract. Leadership and experience. Martin has been the anchor of the Cowboys' offensive line for a decade and has 9 Pro Bowl selections. Trust factor. Dak Prescott trusts Martin, and continuity on the offensive line is always valuable. Age and injuries. Martin will be 35 next season, and he missed significant time in 2024 due to injuries. High salary cap impact. The Cowboys need to rebuild their offensive line, and paying a big contract to an aging player might not be the best strategy. As painful as it might be, Dallas should consider moving on from Martin to focus on younger offensive linemen who can be long-term solutions. If they do re-sign him, it should be on a short-term, team-friendly deal. The Cowboys have a staggering 25 players hitting free agency this offseason. That's almost half the roster. Obviously, not everyone is coming back, so the front office has to prioritize who to keep and who to let walk. Brandin Cooks could be one of the more difficult decisions. According to Spotrac, Cooks' projected annual salary for 2025 is $2 million, which would make him the 41st highest-paid receiver in the league. Now, $5 million isn't exactly breaking the bank, but the question is Cooks still worth that price for Dallas? Let's break it down by looking at the pros and cons of re-signing him. Why keeping Brandin Cooks makes sense. There are definitely some good reasons for the Cowboys to bring Cooks back. Veteran leadership. Cooks is a true professional and one of the most respected veterans in the NFL. With so much uncertainty in the Cowboys wide receiver room, his leadership could be invaluable. Young players like Jalen Tolbert and Jalen Brooks are still developing, and having a veteran mentor in the locker room could be crucial for their growth. 2. Reliable number 2 option. When healthy before injuries slowed him down, Cooks was clearly the second-best receiver on the team behind CeeDee Lamb. He finished the 2024 season with 657 yards and 5 touchdowns, despite missing time due to injuries. His speed and route running ability made him a reliable target for Dak Prescott, especially in key moments. Chemistry with Dak Prescott. Speaking of Dak, we all know that quarterback-wide receiver chemistry is crucial. It takes time to develop. Trust between a QB and his targets, and Dak already has that with Cooks. If the Cowboys move on from him, they'll need to build that chemistry all over again with a new receiver. That could be risky, especially in an offense that's expected to compete for a Super Bowl. Now, let's talk about the reasons why Dallas should move on. 1. Age and declining production. Cooks will be 32 years old next season, and we've seen how quickly speed-dependent receivers can decline. Players who rely on their speed, like Cooks, tend to hit a wall around their early 30s. His 2024 stats were his lowest in years, and he missed time due to injuries. If Dallas re-signs him, they're betting that he can still be productive. But is that a safe bet? 2. Injuries are becoming a problem. Cooks played in just 10 games last season. That's a major concern. The best ability is availability. And if Cooks can't stay on the field, is he worth $5 million? The Cowboys have already dealt with injury issues at receiver in recent years, and relying on an aging player with a recent history of injuries is a risky move. 3. Financial considerations. While $5.2 million isn't a massive contract, it still takes up cap space. And let's be honest, Dallas has more important needs this offseason, with holes to fill on the offensive line, defensive tackle, and running. Beck, should the Cowboys really be spending $5 million on an aging receiver when they have younger, cheaper options? If the Cowboys decide to move on from Cooks, what are their alternatives? Trust the young receivers. If Dallas believes Jalen Tolbert and Jalen Brooks are ready to step up, then they could simply roll with what they have. However, that's a big gamble, especially for a team that expects to compete for a Super Bowl. 2. Draft a wide receiver. Dallas could use one of their first 2 draft picks to bring in a young, talented receiver. There are plenty of great options in the 2025 draft class, and a rookie would be cheaper and potentially more explosive than Cooks. 3. Sign a different veteran in free agency instead of re-signing Cooks. Dallas could find a cheaper or younger free agent receiver. There are several mid-tier receivers on the market who could provide similar production for less money. Cowboys Nation, the front office cannot afford to sit back and hope things fix themselves. Wide receiver, running back, and defensive tackle are all critical needs that must be addressed through free agency and the draft. What do you guys think? Which position should the Cowboys prioritize the most? Should they re-sign Zack Martin or move on? Drop your thoughts in the comments below, and if you enjoyed this breakdown, don't forget to like this video, subscribe to the channel, and hit that notification bell so you don't miss any Cowboys updates. Let's get this team back on track. See you in the next one, Cowboys Nation.